At the beginning of the film, we will be introduced to a beautiful woman named Pumi, who currently works as a designer at an Indian company, but her job always forces her to come home late at night. Pumi herself is a very cheerful person, and besides that, she no longer has a mother because her mother died when she was little. At home, Pumi lives with her beloved father named Baba, and because of his love for his daughter, he doesn't think about finding a replacement for Pumi's mother. Baba is also a boss who owns a shoe store, and behind his gentleness and affection as a father, Baba is actually very addicted to drinking alcohol, which always makes him drunk every night. Every time he drinks alcohol, he is always accompanied by a friend who is considered his brother. His neighbor is named Taj, and because he is so close to Baba, Pumi already considers Taj as her own uncle. Then the two of them talk about Pumi's wedding, which will be held next month, and apparently Pumi will marry a doctor named Niraj.
Yes. Yes.
Every day, Baba goes to his shoe shop on his old motorcycle, and when he arrives at the shop, Baba and Taj are seen preparing and tidying up his daughter's wedding invitation cards that will be distributed to relatives and people he knows. And because Baba is so happy on that day, he then gives a 10% discount to his customers. On the other hand, a young man named G2 is seen being scolded by his older sister because he is always late to pick her up. G2 himself is 17 years old, and a little later he will have his birthday. And apparently G2 is also a neighbor of Pumi, who always picks up Pumi when she works, so G2 has considered Pumi as his own older sister. The next day, Baba began delivering his daughter's wedding invitations to all his neighbors, including Visal, who was a snack trader owned by his mother. Visal was actually sad when he learned that Pumi would soon get married because it turned out that Visal had always loved Pumi, and it was also known that he had expressed his heart to Pumi. But unfortunately, Pumi considered him a friend, so that finally his love was unrequited. Then the story continues with Visal meeting his mother's brother named Dowley, who is a movie theater owner. And assisted by a henchman named Ghulam the tattooist, Dowley always hurts someone who opposes his wishes. In this first meeting, Visal then told Dowley that the woman he loved would soon marry another man. Then Dowley also said that Visal was an adult and should try to express his feelings once again to Pumi that he really loved her. And if Visal was rejected again, then Dowley promised to help Visal get the ideal woman. And in the end, Visal obeyed what Dowley had previously said. And a few days before the wedding, Visal then met Pumi to say again that he really loved her. Hearing this, Pumi was shocked and thought Visal was crazy and then sent him away. But Visal continued to force Pumi until finally Pumi slapped him and made Visal feel very humiliated.
I love you.
कि मैं तुमसे प्यार नहीं करती वास मत करो परसों मेरी शादी निकल अब भी निकल
भूमि तुम प्लीज ये शादी तोड़ दो
तो मुंह ना तोड़ दूं तेरा फुट यहाँ से
The next day before her wedding, Pumi was seen still working. Then she called Niraj to say that she wanted to meet and ask him to pick her up after work. But Niraj, her future husband, said he couldn't, because at that time he was busy preparing for the wedding. In the end, Pumi was taken home by G2 as usual, but on the way G2 suddenly stopped and wanted to pee. But after G2 returned, he was shocked because Pumi had disappeared from there. It turned out that Pumi had been kidnapped by Visal, Dolly, and also Ghulam to Dolly's cinema, where Pumi's condition was semi-conscious due to the influence of anesthesia. And the plan of the three of them now wanted to rape Pumi in turn. A few hours later, Pumi woke up realizing that she had been raped, but she didn't know who the perpetrators were. Feeling sad and losing her cheerful attitude, Pumi went home and lamented her fate because now her honor had been tarnished. Meanwhile, Taj's wife, who knew about the incident, didn't know what to do, but could only advise Pumi not to tell anyone, including her father, because it would make her wedding, which would be held tomorrow canceled and would certainly damage her father's good name.
को बताना मत तू। तेरे पापा प्रथम तेरी शादी है ना?
अरे दीदी कल कहाँ चली गई थी आप? और अरे हंसिए तो सही।
पता नहीं चलना चाहिए किसी को।
In short, the wedding party was held with great fanfare. But before the wedding vows would begin, Neeraj approached Pumi, and what happened was that Pumi told him everything that had happened to her yesterday to her future husband. Until finally, Neeraj was instantly devastated by Pumi's confession and decided to cancel their wedding. Meanwhile, Baba became confused as to why they all left the event. Then Baba finally found out what had happened to his favorite daughter, and in the end, Baba and Taj immediately reported the incident to the authorities. But unfortunately, the policemen did not seriously listen to Baba's report and instead focused on watching a sports match. Until finally Baba was angry and slammed the television they were watching. Upset because the television was vandalized, the police finally handled the case of Baba's daughter, but because they wanted more information, the police said they wanted to meet Pumi, who was at home. But at that time, Pumi had disappeared, which turned out to be that she was again kidnapped and taken to the forest by Visal and Dolly, because they already knew that Pumi's father had reported the case to the police. And in the end, Pumi found out that it was Visal and his friends who had raped her. They then brutally tortured Pumi, and on the dead-end bridge, Pumi tried to escape to jump into the river, but Galam held her back, and Dolly was seen cutting her hair until finally Pumi fell into the river, and then they shot her several times.
वहाँ देख नहीं भूमि को नहीं बचा पाया। मुझे माफ कर दे बेटी।
The good news is that Pumi is still alive and is now being treated in a hospital. Baba was very sad to see his beloved daughter suffer from the actions of the savage people who made her this way. After Pumi regained consciousness, she immediately told her father what had happened, and she also already knew who the perpetrators of her rape were. In other places, Dolly got the news that Pumi was still alive and was currently being treated at the hospital. Finally, the case went to trial with the three of them as suspects. But because the three of them hired a pretty reliable lawyer, finally with the lawyer's money, she tried hard to protect the bastards. Even the lawyer always cornered Pumi as if Pumi had slandered her client. Meanwhile, Baba, who heard Pumi being humiliated in court, finally folded his hands in front of everyone and said that he could not bear to have his daughter continuously humiliated by the lawyer who claimed to be a woman. With anger and tears, he also said in a high tone, he was still lucky because his daughter was only raped and at least did not die. His resigned words made the lawyer silent, and it seemed that in her heart she felt guilty for defending the wrong person.
बस बाबा बस
जरा कोर्ट की बेइज्जती करके नहीं जा सकते।
अदालत की बेइज्जती मैं कर रहा हूँ। मेरी बेटू को क्या क्या कहा? बेशर्म करो। कि बेटी के लिए इंसाफ मांगने आया था, रेप करवाने नहीं। विटनेस बॉक्स में गवाह। दुनिया की किसी जगह पे खड़ा होकर अपनी बेटी के लिए गवाही दे सकता।
Everyone present there was also unable to stem their tears because they saw the sadness, anger, and pity of a father who witnessed his daughter, who was clearly a victim, being humiliated and cornered. Until finally Baba and Pumi apologized to the bastards and would withdraw the report. The father was so devastated at that time and apologized to his daughter that he could not provide justice for her. After that incident, they decided to live their lives as usual. But because they were full of sadness, there was not the slightest happiness from Baba or Pumi. Even one day, the neighbors kicked Pumi out of her house because she was considered to have disgraced the good name of the village. Baba, who heard that, of course, went berserk and destroyed the cars of his neighbors who had once been helped by Pumi, but now they repaid him by expelling Pumi from the place for a mistake that was absolutely not Pumi's will. Immediately, all the neighbors could only be silent in Baba's unstoppable anger.
भूल गया अरे थोपलो जब तेरी बेटी नीचे गिरी और उसको डॉक्टर के पास कौन लेके गया मेरी भूमि और यही बड़ी हुई है अरे शर्म करो तुम लोग
A few days later, Bhumi was visited by his older sister Jitu, his mother Visal, his wife Dolly, and his daughter Gulam. Jitu's older sister then gave Jetu's cell phone, which contained a video recording of Bhumi's rape committed by the bastards. It turns out that Jitu was also involved in their crime, and he also raped Bhumi. Jitu, who is considered by Bhumi as her adopted sister, was able to do that to her. Their family then apologized to Baba in Bhumi, but Baba angrily folded his hands and asked them to get out of his house immediately. After knowing the truth, Bhumi then asked her father to kill them all, but her father said not only him, but both of us, and finally the mission was carried out with the help of Taj. First, they kidnapped Jitu, but Jitu himself pretended not to know anything about the unfortunate events that befell Bhumi. But afterwards, they explained one by one Jitu's mistakes, from starting to give sweets from Visal's shop that had been mixed with anesthetic, pretending to urinate, and then telling Visal that Baba reported the police, and telling Dali that Bhumi survived and was in the hospital. Of course, Jitu is the one who mediates the crimes of Visal and his accomplice to be able to carry out the action on Bhumi, and even more barbaric, Jitu participated in raping Bhumi and recording it, until finally Jitu cried and apologized to them. But because minors are very difficult to get punishment in their country, Baba is the one who will torture Jitu slowly in a painful way. And when he is 18 years old, Baba said that he would kill him. During the confinement period, Jitu was always tortured by Baba until he was helpless. In short, Jitu was then dressed up like a woman, and apparently on this day, Jitu turned 18 years old, and after entering that age, Jitu was seen crying and apologizing to them. Because he was very afraid, Jitu did not want to cut the cake, but Baba continued to force him, and because of his fear, Jitu cut his own throat in front of them.
Cake cut. जन्मदिन मुबारक.
The next morning, Jitu's body was found, and his father mourned his son's death, but Jitu's sister didn't look sad at all. The police officer who had previously handled Baba's case was seen giving a letter he found to Jitu's sister, in which Jitu stated that he committed suicide, and it seems that the police actually felt that there was something odd behind the suicide. In short, their second target is the Visal, and it seems that Baba always haunts and even follows wherever Visal goes, until finally Visal urinated in his pants because he was so afraid to see the eyes of Baba. Then Ghulam, who was seen at his base, was visited by Baba, and because this Ghulam was a tattooist, Baba also made a tattoo on Ghulam's forehead with the words rapist. Because he did not accept Baba's treatment, Ghulam reported it to Dali, and there was also Visal, who was very worried and scared. On the side of the road, Baba was stopped by the police, who handled Jitu's death and gave Baba's keychain that had been found at the scene of the suicide. Then the police said that if Baba wanted to win, then he had to be careful and not leave any evidence. After investigating, it turned out that the police had found out that the bastards were guilty and let Baba take revenge.
ध्यान से खेला करो।
Meanwhile, Ghulam is seen coming up to Pumi and destroying Pumi's belongings, including her mother's beloved radio. Even Ghulam also hit Pumi. Luckily, in the end, Uncle Taj saved Pumi with the help of his neighbors. But unfortunately, Ghulam hit Uncle Taj's head against an electric pole, which finally made Uncle Taj die. Seeing that his best friend died, Baba was even more determined to finish off all the rascals. And without wasting time, Baba immediately went to Ghulam with an iron-like weapon that was immediately struck at him. And after Ghulam was helpless, Baba took him to the railroad tracks and let him be hit by a train. Hearing Ghulam's death, Visal was even more frightened and decided to go by public bus from the village. But on the way, Baba stopped it and all the passengers got off, leaving Visal alone. Visal asked Baba for forgiveness, but with anger, Baba hit Visal's head against the bus pole. Then Baba presented a knife and gave Visal two choices to choose: to cut his own throat or cut his own vital organs. Then Baba and Pumi also used the bus to go to Dali's place, but apparently on the way, Dali was also waiting with his men. After that, Baba then took out Visal's dead body lying stiff, and after they both got off, there was a fight between Baba and Dali's men. Seen in the fight of one old man against a group, Baba gets a stab wound in his stomach that makes him bleed profusely. And afterwards, Dali threatens Baba, saying that he will harass his daughter again, and then Dali immediately takes off his shawl, Pumi. Seeing his daughter humiliated, Baba tried to get up and pull out the iron that was stuck in his body. He immediately went berserk and beat back Dali's remaining men, and also stuck the iron into Dali's legs. Dali ran away, limping in pain amidst the crowd of women who were performing the rituals of celebration, while behind him Baba continued to follow Dali with his anger, until finally Dali entered the temple and was immediately severely beaten by Baba. Baba also broke Dali's arms and legs until he was about to fall into the pit of the temple, where there was a pond below, but Baba grabbed his hair. Dali then apologized so that he would not be killed, but Baba said that rapists must die in a cruel way. Then Pumi cut Dali's hair, as Dali had once done to her, and it was witnessed by the women who were celebrating there. Dali finally fell into the temple ravine and drowned in the pool water. Then Pumi threw her shawl into the pool and was followed by the shawls of the women who were there. In the end, Dolly died, and Baba embraced his daughter, saying,